times it can get very difficult. You can find yourself going on a tilt. You can find yourself in conditions that are really hard to trade. You will take one loss. That's okay. Then you'll take another loss. Then it starts getting a little bit worse. And then you take another loss. And the more and more you start losing, the more you start going on a tilt. That's when you start to lose yourself. That's when you start to lose your psychology. That's when you start to lose your risk management. That's when you start to over leverage. And these are the things that we want to stay away from completely. But they're the easiest things for us to slip back into because they're the easiest things for us as humans to do. It's natural for us to overtrade. It's natural for us to let our emotions take control because we are emotional people. We're emotional beings. So the easiest thing for us to do is for us to go on tilt. It's for us to continue to lose and continue to take losses. The hard thing for us to do is to master ourselves mentally, to master the mental aspect of the trading game. And the cool thing about that is, at least in my experience, nothing good really ever comes easy. And we know that, especially in trading, because I believe personally the hardest part of trading is the mental game. That's the hardest part. The easy part, in my opinion, is the strategy, and it's learning how the market moves. That's the easy part. We can get that down. It might take some time. It might take a while. But we can figure out how the market moves just based on previous patterns, based on the history of the market, and by studying and backtesting. That part just comes with time. It's easy. The hard part is mastering ourselves mentally, because in this trading game, it is us versus ourselves. That's it. We are fighting against our own person. We're fighting against our own mind, and that's why it's so difficult. So for me, there's a few different things that I like to do to keep myself from going on a tilt, to keep myself from letting myself or my emotions take control and take over. The first thing I like to do, and I have talked about this before probably plenty of times because I think that it is so important, but it's something that I learned in a book I read, and it just basically says to remove yourself from temptation, because you can have self-control. You can have great self-control, but if you keep yourself in the environment of temptation, it's going to make it a lot more difficult to avoid that temptation. As much, even if you have a lot of self-control, it's going to be harder. So one thing that I like to do is when I take a loss or I take a few losses and those emotions start taking over, I start feeling that anxiety. I start feeling that just it's you guys know, or you probably know the feeling of right when it hits you, you pretty much know, okay, this is it. I just lost a bunch of money and I need to make it back or else I'm a failure, right? That's the thought that goes through your head. I need to make this money back right now or else I'm going to lose everything. So that's when going on a tilt happens, is because you let that temptation and that thought enter your mind and you don't fight against it. When you feel that feeling, when you feel that temptation, when you hear that thought inside of your mind, that's when you know maybe it's time to walk away. Right when you start feeling that, maybe it's time to close the computer. Maybe it's time to go do something different. Maybe it's time to take a walk, go for a run. Whatever your normal daily tasks are, it's probably time to get going with those, because the worst thing we can do for ourselves is to get that emotion and understand the emotion and know that it's there, but then stay in front of the computer, stay in front of the charts, continue to look for setups, because then you're forcing your hand into the market. You start to create setups that aren't really there, right? You start to see things or don't see things. You kind of imagine things that are there when they're not really there. And one thing that really helped me fight against that emotion and fight against that feeling was by simply having something else to do. When I have days in the week where I have absolutely nothing planned after trading, it makes it a little bit harder for me. And that's when I have to really figure out how to get away from that feeling, because let's say I have something planned right after the trading day is over, or right after the market open session, or right after a prop firm session. Then I don't really think about trading, because now I'm moving on to the next thing. Now I'm going to hang out with a friend, or I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to, whatever that plan is, I'm going to go to a coffee shop and I'm going to read. That always keeps me away from that over trading. Even when I'm winning, let's say, it keeps me from that greed, because now if I just walk away, I start getting less and less of that emotion, because now I'm just, okay, I'm done. I'm content whether I lost or I won. I have something else that I can go do, and I can go put all of my focus on, so that I'm not letting that temptation get to you. So sometimes just removing ourselves from that environment is the biggest and best thing that we can do for ourselves. There's other things we can do as well that are more about the, actual technicality of our, let's say, our charts or our trading platforms. I like what Top Step did, where they allow you to lock yourself out of your account. I think that's very beneficial. I think that could be something that's, if you struggle with the over trading thing and going on a tilt, that could be very, very beneficial for you. And I think that the daily loss limit they put on there is also very beneficial for traders. I know people don't like it very much because they want to have more leverage, but honestly, I think that's a very cool thing that Top Step did for traders. Now, most of these prop firms you see, they're kind of trying to, they want you to lose, right? They almost want you to lose because they don't want to have to pay you out. So they try to make these rules that are going to make it very hard for you. So that's one thing about Top Step that I really like, that they allow you to lock yourself out, or they have a daily loss limit. And that way you can start building the discipline on your own. So sometimes we can't build that discipline right away on our own. Sometimes we need a little bit of help. We need a little bit of a push to get to that point. So maybe that's something you start thinking about doing. When you start feeling yourself going on a tilt, and let's say you hit your mental loss limit for the day, and let's say that number is $1,000. Let's say you want to risk $1,000 a day, and this is just hypothetical. It could be any number. A lot of the time what happens is we hit that $1,000 in the red, and we keep going, right? We keep going because it's mental. There's nothing physical actually stopping us from continuing to trade. So I think that could be beneficial for anybody that does trade Top Step, is to use that tool. And if you don't trade Top Step and you have a live account, or you trade a different prop firm, then you have to start doing it on your own. Maybe there's some kind of indicator in front of you, or maybe you write it on a big piece of paper and you put it on your monitor, you put it on your wall that says, when I hit my loss limit, I walk away. When I hit my profit goal, I walk away. When I take 3 trades on the day, I walk away. Maybe you start planning something that you can go do right after trading. Maybe you come up with some kind of formula, or you come up with some kind of schedule to where you say, okay, at this time every single day, I'm going to go to the coffee shop and I'm going to read my book. Or at this time every single day, I'm going to go for a run. At this time every single day, I'm going to call my friend and I'm going to talk to them. You can start to kind of form a little bit of a schedule, and that will also help you with accountability. So now, instead of you hitting your loss limit and you start going on a tilt, but you're staying in front of the charts and you don't have anything else planned, so you're just sitting there because you don't have any other obligations, it's only trading, it can really be hard to get out of that revenge trading mindset, or that emotional mindset, or that greed mindset. So one thing that truly helps me, and I still can struggle with this, guys, where I don't have anything planned in the day, and I find myself just staring at the charts too much. And what I started to do more and more is just figuring out what I can do. What can I do? So now it's, okay, I'm going to the gym right after I'm done trading, or right at this specific time every day, I'm going to go to the gym. Or I'm going to go read a book. I'm going to go to the coffee shop. Or I'm going to go hang out with a friend, right? Just keeping these things planned to stay away from those emotions taking over. So that's a few things that I like to do that I have found to be very beneficial, and I would at least recommend to try something along those lines. And the next thing that I would start doing is pulling out a journal, whether that's on pen and paper or whether that's on your computer. I prefer it to be in my notebook, pen and paper. And one thing you can really do that will help is to journal down every emotion that you feel, everything you feel while you're trading, to journal down every trade you take, to start holding yourself accountable. You can say, you can have a journal entry every single day. You can put the date at the top, and you can start to see the progress that you make through your journal. I think that can be very cool as well. You can go back. Let's say you started it today. Let's say you start a journal today and you do one journal entry every trading day for the next 3 months. Imagine yourself in 3 months, right? Whatever month, August, September, October, right? So imagine yourself on October 18th and you think back to this exact day and you start reading back in your journal. Imagine the progress you could make trading-wise and emotion and psychology and risk management-wise if you were to journal down everything every single day, at least once a day. You don't have to journal everything you do, but at least once a day you say, I took this trade, or I felt this emotion when I did good. I felt this emotion when I did bad. Here's what I felt I was really good at today, and here's what I felt I was really bad at today. And just think about the progress you can make in 3 months just by doing that. You could get yourself out of a lot of bad situations in trading if you just hold yourself accountable. And I know it's a lot easier said than done. It's for sure way easier said than done because, like I said before, it's you versus yourself. That's the game. That's the game, because I have seen plenty of traders that use completely different strategies that are very good with the way they trade. They're very good at trading. And what's the one common denominator between those traders? It's psychology and risk management. That's it. Someone could trade supply and demand and someone could trade ICT. And they could both be really solid traders. That's why the whole strategy thing is a little different for me, because I found that ICT works best for me, and that's the strategy I really like, and I think it's honestly better for most people. But at the end of the day, it's not going to work for anybody unless they can master their psychology and their risk management. So try to either come up with a journal, try to come up with a schedule that you can have consistently every day, an accountability journal, or an accountability partner. Let's say you have someone in your life that you can help, that can help you and hold you accountable. Maybe they trade, maybe they don't. Maybe they're just a friend and they know that you trade, or maybe they're a family member, maybe they're a wife or a husband, a boyfriend or girlfriend. That could be someone that you go to and you call them every single day, or you talk to them in person every day, and you have to explain the trades you took and how you felt about them. Or, it's probably better if they do trade, because they're going to understand your emotions a little bit better. But just to find somebody, and you can find somebody in this Discord, and you could become accountability partners. You could talk to someone in the Discord. You could reach out to people, say, hey, do you want to be accountability partners? Do you want to go over each other's trades? Do you want to talk about our emotions, how we felt during these trades? And you can start growing together. It doesn't have to be someone in your personal life. It could be someone on the Discord. But I think that is also very helpful, because now you're not just answering to yourself Now you're answering to someone else. So now they're going to hold you accountable, and you want to have someone that's going to basically call you out when you mess up. They're going to say, well, why did you do that when you knew you shouldn't have? Well, why did you go into 6 minis when your max lot size is 2 minis? What was the reason for that? Well, I wanted to make my losses back, so I wanted to scale in super heavy, and that's why. You can't really defend that, right? It's a pretty hard thing to defend to someone else. You can make that up in your mind and defend it to yourself all you want. But if you can have someone else to hold you accountable, that's another thing that can be extremely, extremely helpful in your trading. So a few of the things we've talked about, let's just go over them one more time. Let's just kind of do a little bit of a recap of what we talked about. The first thing is removing yourself from temptation, right? Removing yourself from the environment or the environmental cues that are going to keep you making the same mistakes. The second one would be coming up with a schedule or some kind of consistency in your life that you can have something that you can put your mind to whenever you start to feel those emotions taking over. The third thing would be creating a trading journal that you can journal your emotions, and you can journal your trades if you want to. And the fourth thing would be an accountability partner, whether that's someone in your personal life or whether that's someone a part of our community. Those are the main things I think that are going to help anybody become better at trading and better with mastering their psychology. But here's the bottom line. At the end of the day, it's truly you who has to make that effort and who has to make that decision to change. It truly is you. You can have a lot of help, but at the end of the day, it's you who has to make that decision. You have to figure out, am I 100% into this trading thing? Do I want to make this work, or am I going to keep half-assing it? And am I going to keep making the same mistakes over and over again and never see progress? Am I going to keep wasting money, or am I going to start taking this seriously and start holding myself accountable because I know that I can do this? So that's what I wanted to talk about today. I hope that was a little bit helpful. I know for me in my trading career, it's been extremely helpful. And those are some of the things that have really kind of taken me to that next step, right? Taking me to the next level. Do you guys have any questions or comments for me?